I was so worried. Maybe I shouldn't have been, but I was. I just want the best for my dear Sammy. You know, and Metroid games, they have such a cursed history. It just almost doesn't even matter which game comes out. There's always just something that goes wrong and makes people not buy it. And obviously Dread went over pretty well, but I just Prime 4 coming at the end of the Switch generation like this. I could see the potential for it to be such a big thing. If it was something people really wanted to buy on Switch 2, it could be so good for the series. If it was seen as something just really worth picking up, it could, especially early in a console's life. Early on, people just want games to play. They just want cool-looking games to play. They're way more likely to pick up whatever's there because they're just excited. They just want to see something, and I knew that if they did some sort of cross-gen thing, then it could be so helpful, but then alternatively, it could have turned out so bad. It could have been, oh, like, sure, the graphics look great for a Switch game, but, like, it's not really impressive as a Switch 2 game, and so that could have hurt. I didn't want another Samus Returns situation. I knew it wouldn't be exactly the same, obviously, but, like, I don't know. I was just worried, and I didn't know if there would be any kind of cross-gen thing, and it didn't make sense for there not to be, but, like, you can't get your hopes up. You can't assume, and I don't know. Right now, I'm over the moon. I'm overjoyed. I'm singing and dancing on the inside right now. And on the outside when the microphone isn't on. So, Nintendo has revealed Metroid Prime 4 Beyond Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. It is getting cross-gen support. It is getting a unique version on the Switch 2. And people with the Switch 1 version will be able to pay some amount of money to upgrade to the Switch 2 version. And the funny thing is, it is still a relatively tame upgrade. You know, it still is a game that was developed for the Nintendo Switch 1. I don't believe anything, at least to my knowledge, it does not seem that any of the models have had an increase in polygons or whatnot. The world as it was built is basically the same. Really, what they're doing here is they're just kind of upscaling everything. I'm not 100% sure. There may be improved lighting. It does probably seem to be that way. But for the most part, the game it renders at a higher resolution and at a higher frame rate. Fortunately, they have up-resed the textures, and like I suppose it does make sense. You know, you make a texture for a game, and then you downscale it to fit whatever the game needs, whatever you can get away with, and still have the thing run. So it makes sense, especially if the game's not even out. They don't even have to like go back and open it up and change it. All they had to do was just feed the higher resolution textures into this version. But I am just very thankful to see that it's not just running at a higher resolution. The textures themselves are so much clearer and cleaner and sharper. And that really does make a massive, massive difference. And that's the funny thing is like, it's Retro Studios, it's Metroid Prime. They've still got it. Even after all these years, they have still got it. Metroid Prime Remastered already looked incredible. And now this, I think it's amazing that even though this is a Switch 1 game that is just kind of being up-resed for the Switch 2, this is still like one of the best looking Switch 2 games. Like, this is basically on par with the other games that we've seen, or you could even argue that because this is a little bit more realistic, it's got a higher emphasis on like realistic graphics, you might even just argue it's the best looking thing on Switch 2. And I mean, we couldn't have really hoped for that. You know, you hope, but you can't really expect anything. Well, I bet it's still going to be the best looking thing on Switch. It's happened. This game looks incredible. And it is more obvious that it's a Switch 1 game when you're looking at natural elements. You know, again, the polygon counts on models, on environmental elements. There's only so high that they could go. So, you know, you look at, like, foliage and rocks and stuff, and okay, you can tell it's not quite a next-gen game. But then in a case of, like, I mean, look back at the original reveal. It was mostly just showing off, like, tech stuff, spaceships and corridors, and so you get a lot more flat surfaces, and so they can really just go to town on, like, the lighting and the textures. And in situations like that, it basically looks next gen. Like, it does. If you showed me some of these clips and just said this was a Switch 2 exclusive game, I would believe you. It just looks that good, which again really mirrors the older games. Metroid Prime 3, it was another game that, like, almost looked as good as, like, an Xbox 360 game. It was phenomenal, and now it's happening all over again, and I am happy about it. It looks so incredibly good. And man, when imagining, you know, backwards compatibility, just the very idea of playing Switch 1 games on Switch 2, even if I was expecting there to be some sort of performance boost, I didn't know how far they would go with it, especially with a game like this that's obviously very graphically intensive, very demanding. You know, it's not, like, super easy to emulate older games, and so I just didn't know. I didn't know what kind of performance we could expect to see. If it's higher resolution, okay, but does that mean 4K? Higher frame rate, does that mean 60? And if it's 60, does that mean not 4K? I didn't really know. But now, to have the confirmation that this game, a game so pretty that the Switch 2 version looks like just a Switch 2 game, and it runs at 4K, native 4K, 60 FPS with HDR. It's the good ending. It's your wish is my command. I just could not have asked for more. This game, you know, give me an old Mario or something running at 4K 60. I wouldn't have been surprised if that never happened for anything. Like, I really was preparing myself for the possibility that essentially nothing on Switch 2 would be, like, native 4K. Maybe with the fancy upscaling or whatever, fine. But this is unreal. And I've actually trying not to been I've been trying not to watch too much. They demoed it on the Treehouse stream, and I did not watch that whole thing because that actually does show, like, opening cutscene and boss and stuff. That's too much for me. But I watched them fiddle around with the controls, and then obviously just during the Switch 2 Direct, it shows off the game a bit. And yeah, they confirmed. Okay, so quality and performance mode. That's a thing that I'm used to selecting on, you know, modern non-Nintendo games. I play a game on my Xbox, and you have the choice between quality mode and performance mode. And it's funny because in those scenarios, I actually don't like it. I'm like, when do we get to just have both? But I don't know. Seeing it on a Nintendo game, at least, like, that means that they're kind of coming up to industry standard. They have not classically given us these kinds of options, so I think it's really cool to see. But even then, oh no, quality mode and performance mode, which am I gonna pick? Which is more important? I don't have to pick. Because the performance mode, it renders the game at 1080p, docked 720p handheld, and then gives you 120 FPS, because apparently the Switch 2 supports 120 hertz refresh rates, which I could not have seen coming, and is such a pleasant surprise. You know, obviously for people who care about that. I'm good with 60 for a bit. Maybe when I see 120 in action, I'll be sold. But right now I'm good with 60. So to know that just like that quality mode right there, and it's 4K docked, 1080p handheld, 4K, 60 FPS. To me, that is the best possible outcome. It's everything I could have wanted, and there it is. There it is. It's everything I could want. It's everything I could want. Metroid Prime 4 is getting a souped up Switch 2 edition that looks just as good as a Switch 2 game, possibly the best looking game on Switch 2, and it's got a mode where you can play it at 4K, 60 FPS. It's just unreal. It really just is unreal. And yeah, again, I haven't really watched a lot of the Treehouse stuff, but I've seen some, and the little thing that they showed off in the Direct. It is stunningly gorgeous, and especially seeing footage of the Switch 1 and Switch 2 versions side by side, you can really appreciate the bump in texture, resolution, and everything. And it's mind-blowing. It looks so good. And I could just sit here drooling about it probably forever, so I should move on. Before we wrap this up, though, couple little details. They showed off controls. Once again, Nintendo kind of has a history of not providing control options, but just kind of insisting that you just use whatever they designed the game with in mind. You know, Prime 3 was pointer controls, period. That's it. That is the only way to play that game. So now to see Metroid Prime 4 lets you play with a Pro controller with just mouse controls, you know, like a first-person shooter on PC. You're just controlling it with a mouse. There's that Pro controller and also gyro support. It's whatever you want. It is whatever is best for you. And then, additionally, this is so cool. This is so Nintendo. Sometimes they'll adapt an older technology and they'll still manage to find some little way to do it. Some little, like, unique or even more interesting or impressive kind of way. Apparently, if you put the right Joy-Con down on a flat surface, apparently it has to be either a table or pants. It's not going to work on skin. Apparently, you got to wear pants when you play Metroid Prime 4. Non-negotiable. I got fur. Is that going to work? Whatever. It automatically enables mouse controls. And then all you have to do is take it off the table. And now it just reverts back to regular stick controls. So you essentially can switch back and forth on the fly, maybe even based on the situation. You know, sometimes you just want to wander around and you're going to be doing like a lot of like broad turning or something, or you just want to relax. You can just kind of pull it up, and then when you want that fine control, you just pop it right down and boom, instantly you're back in mouse controls. And you know, I have not historically liked to use the Joy-Cons by themselves. I want a controller. I got big hands. But these Joy-Cons are a lot bigger, so there is a chance that I will find that plenty comfortable. And I still don't know what way I'm gonna play, what mode I'm gonna play this game in. I'm certainly gonna try mouse controls. Maybe I'll fall in love with them. Maybe that'll be my go-to option. Or just Pro Controller. But even then, Pro Controller plus gyro, I really do not know. But I love that I have the option. I think it's amazing. I also think it's cool. This is the kind of thing I don't think I'm gonna quite get until I'm playing it myself. But it seems to be that when you target enemies, it's not quite like, you know, Prime 1 and 2, where like it just locks directly on, and now no matter what, you're gonna hit them with the shot. It kind of just locks onto them, but you still have to fine-tune your aiming, even if you're using stick controls. And I think that's great. It was a little too easy to hit enemies when you could just lock directly on and you didn't have to do literally any aiming whatsoever. And then Prime 3 kind of opened up the idea of locking on, but then free aiming within that space. And I don't know, I'm just happy to see that they're doing that again here. Kind of a middle ground, because, you know, it is weird to have a first-person shooter where you can lock on. That's really not very common. But here it's more of an aid than anything. And especially now with mouse controls, it's not even necessary. If you're good enough with that mouse, as I'm sure plenty of people are, you can just do that. You can just aim freely and manually and quickly all you want. So yeah, Metroid Prime 4, Switch 2 edition in particular, looking pretty sweet. Still don't know why there's no release date. That's weird. So it's not going to be a launch title, and that's a real bummer. Really did not think they would launch that after the release of the Switch 2. But at the same time, it looks so good that, like, sure, save it for later in the lineup, you know? It's now, it is no longer the disappointing leftover of Switch 1. This is like, no, this is basically a Switch 2 title. And if we're getting Mario Kart on day one, save it for later. I still don't know why they wouldn't give us a date. Are we gonna have to wait until, like, a June Direct or something? Does that suggest it is coming later in the year? Probably, which is a shame. Do not delay it again. I will drive to Nintendo of America. I'm close enough now. And I will yell a bunch until somebody escorts me out of the parking lot. I'll do it, I swear. So I have no idea what's happening with that. Weird and kind of unnerving, but whatever. It can't be too much longer now. And then yeah, before I wrap this up, apparently they gave us a full version of that the music that you hear in the trailer from last week on the Japanese website, and somebody like extracted it, and I have not yet listened to the whole thing. So while we're here, while we're talking about Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna just listen to it. You can hear my live reaction. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you could hear it in the trailer. And I did like what I heard. Golly. Good melody. I mean, right off the bat, it's Metroid Prime music, you know? Like, oh. Everything. Every element is there. And this seems to be the Vuros overworld theme. Yeah, that's Metroid Prime music. I'm looking at the comments. Other people seem to feel the same way as me. You've even got like the I don't think it's a theremin, but that kind of like wee woo. All the instruments, everybody's here. A lot of nice variety, too. A good Metroid Prime theme really changes a lot between different sections. Oh. Oh. Oh, there it is. That little whistle thing. Oh, man. And then the piano, the choir stuff. This is incredible. We are so back indeed. little... Oh, that little rumbly thing. Ugh. Yeah, that's Metroid Prime music. Yeah, no worries in the music department. That, boy golly, that's Metroid Prime.